Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Season of the Witch Girl at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. A black woman wound up losing her life in a California prison after having a conjugal visit with her husband who had been convicted of quadruple murder.
Questions about a killer, a man sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole, but allowed to have unsupervised family visits. And one of those visits, his wife ends up dead.
Your reporter Madison Keevy has the woman's family's plea to the prison make changes and give them answers.
Loved her grandchildren more than anything. And that's what hurts the most, is because we got some that's about 3 years old. They don't know, what's going on. It's hard to explain that to them.
Stephanie Brinson wore many hats. Grandmother, mom, a volunteer who gave back to her community.
It really hurt. She was a very loving person to a fault. She didn't care what your past was. She saw the good in everybody.
Stephanie died during an overnight family visit at Mule Creek State Prison. She was there visiting her husband, David Brinson, sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole for killing 4 men in a Los Angeles robbery in 1994.
She liked this guy and she trusted him. And, unfortunately, it was her demise.
According to the Amador County Sheriff's and CDCR, at some point in the middle of the night during their November visit, Brinson called the prison staff to say Stephanie passed out. 2 weeks later, her family was told something seemed suspicious about the case.
Kind of suspected it was something weird going on because she was healthy.
Her children's fears realized. The Amador County coroner ruled it a homicide. Stephanie was strangled.
It's a very frustrating role because we know it was just him and her in the room, nobody else. No supervision, no phones. They take her phone, they take all her belongings. So what hope does she have to, her life is in his hands at that point.
Her children want answers. Why an inmate with a violent history was allowed to have unsupervised visits at all? We took those questions to CDCR. They say protocol is that visits are determined by conduct while incarcerated, not convictions, unless an inmate has suspended privileges due to disciplinary actions, are on death row, or are convicted for sex offenses.
We just want answers, what could be done, and not even just for the sake of my mom, but for the future, for somebody else's mom, somebody else's wife.
Trying to make a change. There are no charges for Stephanie's death, and Brinson has not been named as a suspect. He has been moved, however, to a facility in Stockton.
Now, according to reports, 62-year-old Stephanie Brinson went to the Mule Creek State Prison in Ione, California, to have a conjugal visit with her 54-year-old husband, David Brinson, who was convicted of murdering 4 people during a robbery in 1990. And David Brinson, who was serving 4 life sentences inside of the Mule Creek State Prison, came and received Stephanie Brinson in facilities set aside for conjugal visits and had relations with his wife, Stephanie Brinson, at the Mule Creek State Prison on November 13, 2024, when David Brinson, after having these relations, told staff at the Mule Creek State Prison his wife passed out around 2 a.m., and this is where people from the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation tried to revive Stephanie Brinson, but sadly she was wound up pronounced dead at 2:51 a.m. at the Mule Creek State Prison. Now, as the investigation went into the death of Stephanie Brinson, they basically found that Stephanie's death was not a natural cause, but it was a cause of strangulation that is possibly was done by David Brinson while they were inside of the room having conjugal relations. Now, I don't know what's more troubling about this situation, the fact that the district attorney has not charged David Brinson for the murder of Stephanie Brinson as related to this entire case, or the fact that Stephanie Brinson basically took the time to get involved with this man who was serving 4 life sentences. The whole situation is basically mind-boggling to me. But when I look at this whole situation, it basically fits a pattern and profile of dysfunctional behavior that I talk about in my books, The Woman Crisis, and Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And when it comes down to women like Stephanie Brinson, they definitely are women who put themselves in a crisis, and they put themselves in a crisis because what they really want to do is go out here and fix a broken man, but sadly they can't see how broken they are on the inside to even be attracted to this kind of guy. Because a woman has to have extremely low self-esteem to go out here and be attracted to a man who is doing 4 life sentences and is never going to get out of prison. There has to be something really wrong with that woman to look to pursue a relationship with this kind of man who is basically broken, as I see it. And because like attracts like, the man is not the only one broken, but the woman is broken as well. And what's really sad about this dysfunctional codependent relationship is that you have the woman trying to fix this broken man, not seeing how damaged she is on the inside for looking to even go out here and pursue him. Now, what's really sad about Stephanie Brinson is that because of her low self-esteem, she was looking to go out here and not have a healthy relationship with a healthy man because she did not want to submit to a healthy man. Based on what I've seen, that she has kids by other men and grandchildren from those children. And again, possibly because she had some trauma from those relationships with other men, she was looking to find a relationship with a man where she could foster a codependent relationship with that man, where she could have power in the relationship. And with this man being in a correctional facility, she could be the one who could have the leverage over that man and have power over him. And I believe that's the main reason why she pursued this relationship with David Brinson, a man who had been convicted of 4 murders, and most women would see as a clear and present danger and a threat to them, because if this man would murder 4 people, he would possibly be a threat and a danger to her. That's what any smart woman and critical thinking woman would say. But when a woman has low self-esteem and is caught up in her feelings about failed relationships, what she's looking to do is try to fix things in herself as she's looking to fix this man. And what Stephanie Brinson, I believe, wanted to do was she wanted to go out here and hope to have a successful relationship with a man and believe that she could go out here and fix this guy, this David Brinson, this quadruple murderer. She thought she could go out here and fix this man and make him into the ideal man that she wanted. This is something that a lot of black women like to do when they go out here and pick men like these Pookies and these Ray Rays. They don't really want the man to be a man, but they want the man to be a project. And as they want that man to be a project, what they want to do is go out here and try to fix this man, shape this man, mold this man into their ideal. And sadly, a lot of them become so mesmerized and spellbound by this idea, they're not interested in the man. They're interested in the idea of the man. And as they're interested in the idea of fixing this man, what happens is they don't see the reality as related to how dangerous this male is and how he's not somebody you really want to get involved with. Now, with David Brinson, he basically, again, was a guy who murdered 4 people during a robbery in 1990. He was a hardened criminal, and basically after being in this penitentiary with 4 life sentences, he wasn't interested in being a person who could be rehabilitated because there was no hope for him. But this woman, Stephanie Brinson, thought, oh, I can fix this guy. I can fix this guy and make him into what I want him to be, not understanding that whenever you meet a person, this is something I learned back when I was about 15, 16 years old, people are as is, and as you find that person is how that person will be, and you have to accept who is standing in front of you, and you have to accept this is who they are, and this is what they will be, and this is not going to change at all. No, when it comes down to people like this guy, David Brinson, he's basically is who he is. He was a Pookie when he was in the streets. He was a Pookie in the penitentiary, and he was basically in there being dysfunctional, and basically as he was dysfunctional, he was out here just lit in this prison. And what happened here with Stephanie Brinson is she saw herself reflected in him, and this is where a lot of people get it twisted about black women who get involved with Pookies. A lot of black women who get involved with Pookies, they basically are just as ratchet as the dudes that they're involved with. And a lot of times people will say, oh, how did that good woman get involved with that guy? No, that woman wasn't good at all. No, under the surface, as related to her values, she was extremely dishonest and extremely manipulative, and what she wanted to do was go out here and get with this guy because she thought she could be, one, smarter than he was, thought she could be more dominant over this guy and control this guy because she thought, oh, I'll be able to have some leverage, because a lot of times when women get involved with these Pookies, they think that they're going to be smarter than them, and they think that because this guy is in a place of weakness, they can go out here and fix this guy, shape and mold him into what they want. However, in a lot of cases, they wind up being extremely disappointed when they find out that this guy basically is not anybody who is interested in even being repaired, and is beyond this woman's ability to go out here and fix, because the big problem with these guys is that the woman with the owner's manual, the mama, is the one who programmed him to be dysfunctional. And as the late David Carroll used to say, it was the mama who fucked him up. And that she's the one who made the mess. But sadly, you get women like Stephanie Brinson who think that they can clean up the mess when you can't clean up a mess that mama made. And if mama made him into a Pookie, there's no way you can turn this man into a quality man, because he's not in a place where he, one, understands his role as a man to be a leader, and two, you're not even genuine about letting him be that leader. Because one of the things that I looked at Stephanie Brinson's background, again, she has kids by other men, and again, this woman has had no real interest in submitting to a man, and that's one of the reasons why she was getting involved with this guy with 4 life sentences, because she wanted to be the one who had the power. Moreover, she wanted to have the government basically be in control of this male, so that she basically would have someone to be able to use as leverage to control this guy. And sadly, what she thought about having control all fell apart when she had that conjugal visit with this older man. And what's really sad about this whole situation is that you have a 62-year-old woman who put herself in this situation, a 62-year-old woman who you would thought would know better. But no, when it comes down to many of these modern feminist indoctrinated women, they may be 62 in age and may have gray hair. However, many of these women mentally are still at the age of about 14 to 16 years old, and they're still having relationships with men like they are 14 to 16 years old, and they're getting involved with these kinds of men like the Pookies and Ray Rays they would get involved with when they were younger, and still in a model of thinking they can fix these men, not understanding that the attempt to fix that man is a paradigm of failure, a paradigm of failure that oftentimes leads women down a road of abuse and eventually to their demise, because they don't understand that you can't live an abundant life with a man who doesn't understand his role as a leader and a man who understands his role as related to being a steward of God. No, that man can't go out here and lead you at all, because if his place is a penitentiary, there's no place else for him to go. And with there being no place else for this dude to go, he's going to get frustrated, because he's going to realize that he has no power at all. And I believe that was one of the motivations for this dude. Basically, if these reports are true that he strangled this woman, he basically felt, hey, this woman is going to have more power than me as related to this relationship, and that possibly could have led to this whole situation with him strangling this woman during this conjugal visit, because he basically had no real relationship with her, and basically realized he was not the man in this relationship, but a child in this relationship. Because when it comes down to these kind of males, the woman doesn't see him as anybody they respect at all. No, they see him basically as less than a man. They see him like a pet or something like that. And again, this drives these men to become deeply frustrated, and then they wind up again losing it as related to things. Now, reports say this woman was giving and a kind-hearted person. No, she was basically, again, looking to control this man, and again, looking to give to get in a covert contract where she thought, again, she could shape and mold this man. And this is what messes up a lot of black women. They think they can shape and mold a man into their ideal of manhood, but their ideal of manhood can never be actual masculinity or actual manhood. No, actual masculinity and actual manhood is something that can only be made by men who are servants of God and have a father in their life to show them a model of manhood. That's only something that, again, a man can do. And what these women want to do is try to circumvent the process of God's order and look to think that they can make their own man. But sadly, what they get is a pale imitation that winds up becoming a monster that winds up, again, destroying a lot of these women. And sadly, what in the case of the 62-year-old woman, again, 62 years old in the body, but 16 in the mind, still out here, again, looking to go out here and get with inmates, or what they call roughneck guys. And that's what's really sad. This woman is old and gray-headed, got grandchildren, and still out here living dysfunctional, going out here marrying Pookie, and thinking she can turn Pookie into a man. Again, a case of a man with no hope at all. A man who basically lives for just eating slop at the chow and having commissary, and possibly enjoying better relations with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. Basically, this woman thought she could have a relationship with this man, but this was a man who, again, was broken, and a broken woman basically attracted a broken man to her. And the sad part is, as she tried to fix the broken man, she wound up, sadly, losing her life at the hands of the broken man. And this is a problem that many black women I've seen ever since I was 14 years old basically had, where they, again, looking to fix broken men like drug dealers, gang members, thugs. And again, they think they can nurture these men, but you cannot nurture that man, because that's not your role. That's mama's role, to nurture her sons. No, a woman as a helpmeet is supposed to find a man who helps meet her needs and help the needs of that man. It's supposed to be finding a man who she can be equally yoked to, not one that is yoked by the prison system, because that's an unequal yoke. An unequal yoke because this man, again, is bound by the system and bound by his own dysfunctional mind. He is not fit or ready for stewardship in God's order. He is not ready to be a steward. No, he's not interested in being a steward at all. He's still about being a taker. And again, shows me this dude hasn't been rehabilitated. Now, what's even more troubling about this case is that after this was revealed in November. What happened is that the DA did not file charges, and the family in and of itself should be upset because this man was the only one in the room with this woman, and the only one in the room. So this woman, if she was strangled by him as related to things. So this is the 5th murder that this man possibly has committed. And what's troubling to me is the DA hasn't filed any charges as related to the case of this 5th murder, and hasn't filed any charges as related to this crime that took place in a penitentiary where there was supposed to be so much security, and this man was supposed to have met all the guidelines as related to this visit, and still committed a crime. And again, still committed a crime because he was not rehabilitated. Again, go back to my talking point of as is, because when it comes to people, again, they are as is. As you find them is how they will be. And you can't let yourself get caught up in your feelings about what you imagine themselves to be. You have to accept who is in front of you. This is something I learned, again, hard time back in 1989. You have to accept who is standing in front of you, because if you don't accept who is standing in front of you, you may put yourself in danger. And I saw a lot of girls when I was at Park West and doing this by getting involved with drug dealers, again, imagining him as this Prince Charming of who they wanted him to be, but not accepting who was standing in front of them. And that basically put a lot of black girls' lives in jeopardy. And what's sad is that this woman at 62 has not really learned anything in the over 40 plus years that we had the crack epidemic and things like the heroin epidemic. I mean, she grew up in those periods and should have known better. I mean, this baby boomer should have known better. She was, again, a grandmother and should have been thinking about more important things like her taking care of her grandchildren and going out here and looking to, again, share with those who want to be shared with. But no, what she did was get involved with this inmate, thinking, again, like many teenage girls when I was growing up in high school, thinking, oh, I'll fix him, I'll change him. No, you ain't gonna change him. No, if anything, all you're doing is showing how bad your character is, because like attracts like, and if a woman likes certain type of guys, then that tells us that there's something wrong with them, and something wrong with them as they go out here looking to fix a man, because to me, this effort to try to fix a man is the same as playing a stupid game and winning a fucked up prize, because when you go out here and think you can fix a man, you're playing a stupid game, and you're going to win a fucked up prize in thinking you can fix this dude. And again, you can't fix a broken dude because a broken dude needs licensed psychotherapists, mental health counselors, people who can identify the issues this man is having. No, some sister from around the way can't fix a broken man. All she can do is basically wind up more damaged by this dude, more damaged by this broken dude. And again, broken attracts broken, and neither one will get fixed. And this is something a lot of black women don't get. A lot of black women, sadly, don't get this, and they get involved in these relationships, and a lot of times it ends up in great tragedy. It ends up in a great tragedy like this. But what's really troubling is that this happened inside of this prison. It happened inside of a prison to a woman who basically did not need to go to that prison. All she needed to do was, again, leave Pookie in the penitentiary, leave him to Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. They are the ones who can only have a relationship with this man who's basically, again, done at this point. There is no fixing him at all. No, a lot of black women do this. They think they can change this guy, but there's nobody who can change this man but God. And basically it shows that this man had no interest in changing. No, he was still about that life and still about living that life, even though he was incarcerated for 4 life sentences. He's not interested in changing at all. And sadly, this is what happened to this woman, who again showed me a textbook case of what happens when you grow old and don't grow up. You still keep playing the same stupid games, and you still keep winning the same jacked up prizes, and wind up winning a jacked up prize that costs you your life. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the dysfunctional behavior of a woman in crisis to help a woman break out of that pattern, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to learn why so many women wind up in a paradigm of failure, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com, and learn why many black women get attracted to toxic males like this, and why they pursue relationships with these men, and why those relationships wind up failing. And if you want to see me make more videos taking situations like this to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. Now available for the first time in paperback, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Learn all the reasons why so many black women can't find a husband and why 70% of black women are single. Get your copy of Why 70% of Black Women Are Single on Amazon.com today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.